Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you certainly know that this is my series in which I use tarot and oracle cards to help me explore topics related to living the intentional life. And if you noticed the title of this week's video, you'll also have noticed that this is part 2. Because for the last 2 months, and I'll continue for the rest of this new lunar cycle, I've been using a Tree of Life spread. And this spread is deep, it's intricate, it's complicated, and so I've been doing it in 2 parts. And if you have not seen part 1, I will put a card up here for you to hop on over and watch part 1 so that you'll have an understanding of where we have been and be able to follow along very easily to where we're going now. And just in case you did see part 1 already, but it's been a while, let me give you a really brief refresher course of what it was we were talking about. In the top triangle, we started off with strong indications for the coming, I don't want to say need, but the coming benefit of meditation. Meditation, self-reflection, looking within, was very, very strongly indicated in the supernal triangle of this week's Tree of Life spread, the top facing triangle. And so in the second part of the video, when we looked at the emotive or the ethical triangle, we got the sense that communication is going to be important, and that when we get to the heart of the matter, then we can begin to interact with other people. We'll have the potential for, after allowing meditation to have its effect in our lives, we'll have the potential for intuition and psychic ability, perhaps even, knowledge to be revealed for us and from within us, and for us to be able to put that knowledge and information into action into the world, and then we're going to be able to interact more effectively and more beneficially with other people as we come into the heart. And that's where the energy begins to form into the physical. And so now what we're going to do, we've got 2 more jobs to do in this video. One is to look at the third triangle, which brings us into manifestation. This is the etheric triangle or the psychological triangle. And then we're going to read the whole spread once more in 3 different ways. 3 different ways, count them 3. The mother pillar, the father pillar, and then the lightning path down from Kether all the way down to Malkuth. That's what we're going to do. So, friends, here we go. Let me show you the etheric triangle or the psychological triangle. Here it is. So this is a deck that I've had put on pause for 1 lunar cycle and have brought back into use. Yeah, I used this deck in my deep dive into the Egyptian Tarot and the deck created by C.C. Zane for the Brotherhood of Light, or with the Brotherhood of Light. And then for the next month, lunar cycle, I should say, for the lunar cycle after that, I should say, I was using this deck as well in my first voyage into the Tree of Life spread. And then I put it aside for 1 lunar cycle, and this one is back. This is the mass market version. And if you're curious about this deck or any of the decks that I'm using in this Tree of Life spread, there will be a short video at the end of this video that gives you the names of the decks and the names of the creators. And then in the description box below, you'll get links to the cards, the decks that are available. All of the decks, except for one of the 4 decks, all of those decks are available, and I'll have links to those. The one deck that is not available is out of print, but you can find copies of it on eBay if you're interested, and they're not crazy expensive. At least the one that I found wasn't crazy expensive. It was a little expensive. So, just saying. So, that video will be at the end of this larger video. But now we're looking at the psychological triangle. And in Netzach, we had the Chariot. Perfect card for Netzach, I think. And I'll get to why. And then in Hod, we had the Queen of Discs, which is an interesting card. Now remember, in this deck, the Queen of Discs is the Queen of Air, not Earth. Just remember that. And then we had the Ten of Discs in Yesod. And then in Malkut, we had this wonderful card for Jupiter. And if you saw the first part of the video, I recommended that we follow the bouncing air signs, Mercury, Jupiter, and Scorpio. Now, Scorpio is also in Sagittarius, so Sagittarius is part of that a little bit too, but the air signs, Mercury and Jupiter and Scorpio, are important for this reading a little bit. So, let's get to Netzach. In Netzach, what do we have? Netzach is the Sephirah of perpetuity, but victory and endurance, triumph over obstacles. And when I think of the pairing of Netzach and Hod, I think of our relationship with obstacle. I also think of feet. No, I don't mean it like that. I'm not saying I'm one of those not pedophile. That's something else entirely. Foot. What's the word for people who are into feet? Anyways, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about pedophilia either. What I'm talking about is these are the feet of the tree of life. Yeah, the two Sephiroth that are above this are are Gebra and Kether, Chokmah, Hesed and Gebra. And they're the hands of the tree of life. Yeah? Netzach and Hod, they are the feet of the tree of life. They're what give motion together to the tree of life. So, again, Netzach is triumph over obstacles. It's where here we're able to feel and comprehend and experience what is beginning to come into manifested form. Above this, we sensed things intuitively, but there was nothing to really hold on to. And really, there's nothing to hold on to physically yet. But here we can experience, we can comprehend, we can feel what's going on. We can ask questions. We can ask questions of how can we receive God's message? How is that message which is translated through Tiferet? How can we receive that? And also, how can it be implemented here in this physical realm? Those are all questions that are answered by the Chariot. And what better card to answer those questions? The Chariot, yeah? Our will in action in the world. And here we have a lovely Chariot card. We've got the two Sphinxes standing up, ready to move. A lot of tarot decks, those Sphinxes are kind of lying on the ground and looking kind of stubborn. You're not going to move me. These two Sphinxes look ready to move, right? We got the Prince in the Chariot there with the canopy above. And yes, there are stars in that canopy. The Prince is holding both a wand and a scimitar, a scepter of some, a sword of some kind. And those two lines, we can actually see wheels on this chariot. So this chariot is ready to get going. And this chariot, you can see, is associated with Sagittarius, which is the domicile of Jupiter, something to keep an eye on, from which mutable fire's vital attributes enter our world. So we have mutable fire. Let's get going. Let's clean up. What's going on now. Let's take what we want and get going forward. For Sagittarius. So what do we have here? In our conquering our obstacles, triumph over our obstacles, we have victory here. Victory in the victory Sephirah. What number is the chariot? It's number 7, right? And it's in the 7th Sephirah. I mean, it's just a perfect match. Victory, application of our mental and physical powers. So here we're beginning to add our physical beings into that mental discussion we were having up until now. Perfection attained by active effort. Right? We have travel could stimulate our enthusiasm. Yeah, getting experience in the world can help stoke the fires of our passions, which we were trying to rediscover way up there at the top of this tree of life for this week. Now, we want to have prompt and just decisions. We want to appraise what is going on, see if it matches our values. We want to receive benefit from a philosophical approach to what we're doing. We don't want to just act blindly in the world. We want what we're doing and experiencing in the world to match our values and for us to benefit from a philosophical approach to doing what we're doing. Why are we doing it? What is the good that will come of our doing it? What is the result that we are expecting? And is that result going to be ethically and morally and spiritually, psychically beneficial for us and others? Now, we have a zeal to serve humanity here. And we want to know that we can conquer the material conditions that we experience ourselves in. But it's not a conquering of picking up this sword that is here and just hacking at stuff, right? It's a conquering of victory. It's the conquering of following the path of intention, allowing the power of intention to move us through the experience that we're having in the world. That's how we properly conquer the material obstacles that we face. And so this card, number 7, in the 7th Sephirah, with Jupiter, of expansion and luck, of course, risks possible, but expansion and abundance and wealth are possible here. And wealth can be many things. It's not just cash money. Now, the wealth of good health, of peace, the wealth of agape, of friends, the loving interaction with friends as well. All of that is part of our wealth, right? And so we move from the 7th Sephirah into Hod. And in Hod, what do we have? Hod is named for majesty, splendor, glory, which is wonderful, but it's also submission. Why is it submission? It's submission to obstacles. And there are different ways to submit to obstacles. There's the submission of obstacle, which is I give up, I stop, and I will run over me. Knock me down and kill me, kind of submitting to an obstacle. Do what you will with me. But that's not this kind of submission that we're thinking of here in Hod. The kind of submission here, it's the submission to what is. I'm not going to fight what is, but I'll open myself to the truth of what is occurring right now and to my ability to flow through, past, around, over, under it. I don't have to bang up against what I don't like and give it more energy by pounding on it. I can instead accept it as it is and find my way forward to what I actually want. To what actually is life affirming and what is actually well-being for me and those around me. That is Hod for me. It's also what? It's also form given to the symbolic realm. And Netzach, we had things that are comprehensible, tangible, but not able to be grasped yet. Here, we're being able to be intellectually grasp things in the symbolic realm. Yeah, we change to things that are rationally systematized, such as philosophy, science, literature, systems, reason, Now, those intellectual pursuits that we can grasp intellectually, that's what gives form to Netzach here in Hod. So, what do we have here giving form to that willpower and that drive forward and perfection attained by the work that we're doing in the world and our power to command others as well as possible there? Travel inspiring us. Well, travel through the world, whether we're actually going on a vacation or just moving about in our daily lives and perhaps even exploring places that we haven't been in our own neighborhoods. In our workplaces even. Sometimes there are corners and places that we haven't been to yet, right? We can explore those things, and sometimes that could feed us in one way or another. All of that is given form and shape here in Hod by the Queen of Discs. Also, our surrendering to the obstacle is here in the Queen of Discs, which again is the Queen of Air. In this deck, we're reading that as, can you see? She's a wonderful queen. She's there seated on a throne, and she's got, what does she have in her hand? She has the Libra-like scales in one hand, and there's what is that? It's a kind of vase or vessel in her other hand, right? And you can see at the bottom that this Queen of Discs is associated with Libra, which is the domicile of Venus, from which cardinal air's vital attributes enter our world. So we've got Libra again here. We had Libra up above in the previous triangle, in the emotive triangle, in the ethical triangle. Here we got the Queen of Discs. This queen loves justice, loves beauty, total Libra, right? And she desires companionship. Yeah? Sagittarians can often be on the front edge and kind of loners. The Chariot can kind of be a loner at times, but here that loner is brought into to form and is opened up in submission by our association with other people. And our love of justice and beauty, yes, definitely, but also companionship because of our sensitive natures, yeah? And because of those sensitive natures, we don't want to be companions with just anybody. We don't want to pick up the next person we see on the street and say, you be my friend, right? We want to be selective because we want to have companions who will lift our mood rather than knock us down into the pits of depression. We're charming. We can be charming. We can be graceful like a Libran. We can be refined and dignified. And be all those things in association with people who raise us up, right? But remember, Librans aren't great decision makers. So this Libran is a good balance to the Chariot, which is a very good decision maker, but a loner. And the way that we open to the obstacles is to associate with others and look for beauty and look for truth and look for companionship and be with those we are companion with, which balances out this Sagittarian Jupiter. But we also want to learn how to say no. And the Chariot will help teach us how to say no, right? We can be a little bit changeable. We can be a dabbler in different things here in Libra. So here, it's best for us to narrow our activities than to spread our interests too thin. And narrowing our activities, so being selective, the Chariot helps us with that as well. We might be too fond of flattery here. And we want to act in the world irregardless of the goodwill of others. And the Chariot can help us do that. Do you see how these two attributes, these two archetypes, which constellate so much information, balance each other beautifully in Netzach and Hod, which both flow into Yesod, which is what? Which is our foundation. This is the machine, if you will, the machine that will, or the engine room of creation that will drive everything into physically manifested form. It's the link between mind and matter. And we just had a lot of mind up there, right? The chariot in Netzach and the Queen of Discs in Hod. We had a lot of mind, and here that mind is going to be moving us into manifestation, into matter. It's the dynamo that causes the physical realm to be created with motion and life, rather than a dead, lifeless, still thing. And doing that work for us was this card, right? The 10 of Discs. And in this deck, the 10 of Discs, which is, you can see here, is what? That is Aquarius. Dun, 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 Aquarius. So pay attention to Aquarius. The 10 of Discs points to Aquarius and its subruler Saturn, from which fixed air's vital attributes enter our world and our natal charts and the question we're asking of the tarot. So this 10 of Discs is pointing to what? It's, well, according to the guidebook, unexpected travel. So if you're a traveler, that travel was indicated both in the chariot. Where are you, chariot? Both in the chariot and here. So maybe travel. But travel doesn't, again, need to be going on a vacation or a cruise or taking an international flight. It could be travel within our daily lives, within going to and from work is a kind of travel. But that's expected. So an unexpected travel, going to a different restaurant than we normally go to, going to a different area of the school that we work at or the office building that we work at. That could be unexpected travel too, in a sense. Also, this card points to alternating loss and gains, which is interesting. Yeah? Also giving and receiving. But I think more importantly here, inventiveness is indicated in the 10 of Discs, which again is the 10 of air. Remember, discs are air, Aquarius. Inventiveness brings financial gain, brings other gain. Yeah, we benefit from our inventiveness in the world. Our mental inspirations are going to be creative for us. A change of viewpoint may be beneficial for us as well in this card. We want to have our progressive natures moving in the direction of our personal and collective gain. Because remember, Aquarius is progressive not only for their own personal interests, but for the interests of society as a whole. Their group, their peeps, also the larger group of all of humanity. All life forms. Yeah, it's not limited to the anthropods, right? All life. Aquarius is concerned with the benefit of all of the universe in its most extended form. And we can get some wisdom from occult studies according to this card. But remember, what is the engine that is driving our manifestation here are things like exploring and experiencing new places, whether they're really close to where we are sitting right now or across the world. Experiencing new places and having that feed our inventiveness and our inspiration. Allowing ourselves to find different ways of looking at things, different viewpoints, to give our attention to moving forward for personal and collective gain. That is what's going to move us into the manifested form of Malkuth, which is here in Jupiter. What a wonderful place to land, right? What is Jupiter? Jupiter is the planet that resides in both Sagittarius and Pisces. Remember, Pisces is also important in this spread, as well as Jupiter, because this is what we're manifesting. So we have, in Jupiter, we have both mutable and as both mutable fire and water as vital attributes entering our world through Jupiter. Emotionally and passionately cleaning stuff up and trying to move forward into the next thing. So here we have expansion, positivity, knowledge, passionate engagement with the world, an ardent nature for moving forward with our beautiful, intentional lives. This card could also indicate that change is coming, and if the spreads that we've been reading up until now have been accurate for us, then change is going to be a good thing, because we've been having a little bit of disruption that we've been paying too much attention to, perhaps. Yeah? And relief is imminent here with the Jupiter card. We have a thirst for and a knowledge that we deserve the good things in life. And that's what living an intentional life is opening to those good things that we have vibrationally placed out there on our rivers, our currents of intention. Now, this is the engine of manifestation, the coming of the better versions of self and allowing productivity to radiate from us. Yeah? Here in Jupiter, the better version of ourselves is possible. And that's the manifestation of this entire tree, moving from meditation and reflection and discovering who we are right down into this spot. So, Jupiter increases and improves our ideas. Jupiter increases and improves our flexibility and our ability to think critically as well, expanding our knowledge and asking us to question the truth of what it is that we're experiencing, because not everything that we think we're experiencing is valid. Our thoughts, for example, we experience our thoughts. Not all of our thoughts are valid, right? We got to acknowledge that. There are thoughts, we want to acknowledge that they exist, that this thought came to mind, but we want to be rational, we want to be careful, not to just accept every one of our thoughts as God's truth, to put it crudely. Not that God is crude, but it's a very crude phrase, as God's truth. As our truth, as truth. Not every one of our thoughts is truth, right? So we want to be critical of what we are receiving, but we want to be open to receiving and knowing that we can receive and let those things that are not true flow out. Does that make sense? So that's where we're landing. What a beautiful place to land from the beginning of this spread. Now, friends, what are we going to do? We are going to move into reading this spread 3 different ways. So I'm going to show you the entire spread once again, and we're going to jump on those pillars and the lightning path. Here we go. That was the entire spread. And yes, I know, it's difficult to see, and I'm very sorry for that. But it's partly because of the shape of the spread and our technology. We are generally using landscape view devices, and this is a vertical spread, and it's a long spread vertically. Now, if we were all using portrait-based devices, we'd be able to see this spread much more easily. But because we're looking at long rather than high screens, limitations of technology, as wonderful as our technology is. But you just saw that whole spread. And what we're going to do is we're going to start on the left with the mother pillar coming down, which is Sophia descending into the material to co-create with the Ein Sof, the physical universe. And then we're going to read the father pillar, which is the pillar on the right going up, reaching up and opening up to the divine that exists from the beginning of all, before time and after time. And then we're going to read the lightning path, which starts at Kether and moves all the way down zigzag to Malkut. That's what we're going to do. So here we go. Friends, the mother pillar starts at the top with Binah, and then goes into Gebra, and then into Hod. And I forgot to get my cards. Let me get the cards for us here. There we go. Here are the cards. There we go. So where do we start? We start with the High Priestess, right? Reversed. This is where the divine energy is moving down the pillar of severity. The pillar of severity is not the mean, angry pillar, but rather the pillar of things coming together and borders and boundaries being formed and order being imposed, and that's the severity that is pointed to in the mother pillar. Yeah? And so we begin with the High Priestess, which reminded us of what? Yeah, it reminded us that within each of us there is a silence. That small, it's not even a small still voice in the night, right? There's a silence, there's a spot of eternal stillness in action, might be a way to describe it, because nothing is actually still, but there is a stillness in action that is pointed to in the priestess reversed. She counsels, remember, no mind, right? Meditation, the whole top triangle, counsel meditation. Yeah? To also allow that meditation to have an effect on us. Now this is the moon reversed, but the moon, recognizing that there are fluctuations in our life, but to be able to ride the waves of the fluctuations of the moon, we want to find the pure, still point that is, and we, as physically manifesting humans, are going to say that it is within, although it's not really within. There is no in and out in the non-physicalness of that which exists around and beyond the physical universe. Now, there's no in and out in non-physical. However, we imagine it as being this small, still spot within, perhaps around either the heart or perhaps the third eye. Now, that's a conceptual model. Not the truth, but a conceptual model. And so finding that stillness, that silence, is what is going to help us navigate those waves that are caused by the moon, especially when it's reversed. And we're about to get to the moon again in a little bit. So we move from that spot, that space, into Gebra. And in Gebra, we had what? From the High Priestess, we moved into the universe, right? Geb, in Gebra. And here we have, in that small space, in that still space that we're allowing to be transformative for us, and accepting the burdens of that self-awareness, we allow that space to be the soil within which we can plant the seeds to blossom and fruit for us. To know ourselves and our success, and to utilize our creative imagination here. Within that small space, that small, why am I calling it small? That still space, that space of silence. We say silent as the grave, right? But that has nothing to do with death, because there is no death. It's that silence of the still, the silence of the earth, the womb. And there are wombs, right? So we move from Gebra. This is where we're beginning to take form, right? In this space, we're planting seeds, and we utilize our creative imagination, and we know ourselves and our success that is potential, and we move right down into Hod, which we had the Queen of Coin, which is actually the Queen of Air in this deck, right? And here we realize that we are Librans. We discover our charm and our gracefulness, our ability to interact with others in beauty, with dignity, that we have diverse talents, and we are asked to choose to develop those, so that we don't plant all of the seeds, but only the ones that we want to plant, so that those seeds that we plant are not overcrowded by other seeds, but have space to grow, right? Have you ever planted seeds? If you plant too many seeds within a space, they will kill each other because there's not enough space. So in this card for Libra, we have the potential for wanting to plant all of the seeds, but we're asked to be selective. Choose the ones that we really want to focus on, plant those so that they have the space to grow. Learn how to say no to some of the things, right? And that's what this pillar of mercy, of severity, is drawing us down into. Becoming the Queen of Air. One of my favorite queens. How many? There are 4 queens, one of them. Yes, all of them are my favorite queen, I guess. But I love the Queen of Air. Of Swords. Perhaps even more than the Queen of Fire, which would probably be my closest companion as a Leo sun sign. More than the Queen of Earth, definitely, which I think is a beautiful card, but the Queen of Swords has always been the one that makes me think of independence, clear-sightedness, wit, being able to cut through the bullshit, right? That's the queen that I usually most look for and look to and admire. Even more than the Queen of Cups, which is just like this emotional, like disappearing into the emotions sometimes. For me, it's the Queen of Swords that I usually like. And here we got the Queen of Air. Okay, that was a ramble. That was, I'm not sure, helpful or not. But here we go. Now we're going to go to the Father Pillar, right? The Father Pillar starts at the bottom. So we start the Father Pillar with Netzach, which was the Chariot, right? The Chariot, so here we are in the physical, and we recognize and to have access to our willpower, our power to command others, that the travel that we have in the world is going to have a positive effect on us, will bring release and inspiration. We will have just actions. We will be victorious over what it is that we encounter. We are able to implement our mental and physical powers, will be successful. All of that wonderful stuff is where we begin. And that moves us up into what? As we open to the divine power. I mean, this is a very kind of aggressive place to start, right? Victory over challenges. And then we move up into Netzach, loving kindness. So we start here with victory, and we open up to loving kindness in Netzach. And in Netzach, we had the 7 of Ankh. This one. We have the 7 of Ankh, which says, okay, so we got all that. Yes, that's great. But we want to open up to our intuition. We want to open up to our inner sensitivity. We want to open up to allowing ourselves to benefit from our ability to communicate in whatever form we choose, whether it's by video, by writing, by publishing, by teaching, whatever it is. We want to open ourselves to allowing ourselves to benefit from the communication that we do. And discover what we may not have noticed as to yet, because we've been so focused on our willpower and getting stuff done and conquering and victory and all that wonderful stuff. But still, here we're opening up to loving kindness and discovering, intuiting, benefiting from our communication. And we move from here into the top of the Father Pillar, right? Which was what? Which was the 10 of Cups. And here we recognize that, okay, as we're opening ourselves to all of that, there may be a sense of instability that is also recognized. And we're opening up ourselves to intuition, to psychic experiences, to mental energy, to solve problems. And as we open ourselves to all of that, we also might discover that the ground is a little less solid than we had thought it might be. Now, we move from our Sagittarius into Gemini, which is a little bit shaky, right? And now we're moved into all of this water. Yeah? Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, all upside down. Our emotions are topsy-turvy, which maybe we haven't recognized because we've been so focused on charioting. So here we have the recognition that, yes, we can keep moving. Our endurance is going to bring revelations. Our experiences, while they could be painful, and we recognize that the pain that it causes, we recognize that the pain that we experience is because of our own self-centered and limited perspective, which we wouldn't have recognized if we hadn't opened ourselves to in the Seven of Swords. So here we recognize, as we open ourselves up to the divine, that humbling ourselves is going to be the gate to breakthrough. Maybe that's the title of this. Okay, so probably you will know eventually. You will know before I do what the title of this video is. Maybe that is the title for this video. Something about humbling ourselves as the breakthrough to okay, so you know what the title is. I don't know what it is, but I just got the taste of it right now. So I'll get on it after I finish doing this video. But yeah, something about humbling as the gate through breakthrough, the humility of meditation, and the gate meditation, humility, breakthrough. Something about that. That's the title of this video, this series of 2 videos. So that's where we are now. That's the top of the father pillar. Yeah? Opening ourselves to that. And recognizing that the discomfort that we're feeling is a result of this self-centered and limited perspective that we have been carrying with us as we have been doing the charioting of our lives. Because that charioting is a more limited perspective of the world and our experience in it. And here suddenly we're opening up to a broader emotional experience of it, and it can be painful because that pain, again, is caused by that limitation that we experience as a benefit of being the charioteer. Does that make sense? So here we go. We're going to read this tree from top to bottom, from Kether down to Malkut. And we start in Kether where? Now we start in Kether with the 4 of Swords. We need isolation. We need to take a break. We need. No, we don't need. We will benefit from isolation. We will be supported by giving ourselves time to look within, to isolate, to ask ourselves the question of why we're here and what feeds the fire for our acting and being in the world. Right? That's what's there. It's the questions that are beginning to form and be ready to be perceived. Questions like that. And recognizing that because if we do start feeling lost, we will perhaps drop out of our access to the powerful flow of intention by feeling depressed, lethargic, low, unworthy. Those negative, heavy-making feelings will pull us out of our full access to the power of intention. And so we meditate, and so we move into this. I'm sorry. No, they're still okay. So we move into the 10 of Cups, where we recognize. Okay, so yeah, I'm feeling that because here I am in a less than stable environment. I'm not on solid ground, and I crave evidence of what's beyond this unsettled experience that I'm having of the world. Is there more? Is there more to this than what I'm feeling right now? And yes, I know that enduring this will bring revelations for me. And this is the understanding that is coming to me. And so I move into the High Priestess, where I say, yes, okay, so this silence that is within me, maybe that is the evidence of what is beyond the turmoil that I'm experiencing in the world, but that's kind of scary. That silence is a little scary. That silence, which maybe seems so small, also looks like a huge, immense void if I go into it. And so I'm willing. I'm willing to accept. My wisdom is that I'm willing to accept the burden of my self-awareness, because that's the only thing I can do now. To become self-aware, to go into that space, and allow that space to have its effect on the rest of my life. Not only when I'm in there, but for the other parts of my life. I don't want to separate my meditating self from the rest of myself, right? So we move from there, from the top of the mother pillar into the void. The void in Dot. This is the space that was left when the tree fell. This is the space that was filled by Tiferet, but Tiferet fell down as the tree fell and separated the supernal triangle from the two downward pointing triangles. And they weren't downward pointing triangles before, but after the fall, those centered Sephiroth dropped, and now those triangles, which were pointing up, were all pointing up or pointing down. Not a bad thing, though. That's how the energy moved into manifestation. By going down, right? But it was we could imagine that it was there was easier communication from the non-physical into the physical before the fall. And that space was left in the center, Dot. And Dot is where our knowledge rests. Now, the tree of knowledge, right, is the key to the fall of Adam and Eve. The tree of knowledge of good and evil. Now, that knowledge is there. And in that knowledge, what do we have? We have the card for the first quarter moon. And what a fabulous card. Now, we moved from the moon in the High Priestess here into Dot, where we have the first quarter. First quarter is rich with potential, right? The first quarter moon, it's not really that interesting an image, but I'll show it to you. Here, the first quarter stems and leaves are developing and taking form in the first quarter of the moon. Intuition is getting stronger, so we can trust ourselves, which is great because that's where we're moving into, right? We're moving in from the High Priestess into a card all about intuition. So here, intuition is getting stronger. What a better card could be in this spot. We have the answers that we're looking for. Our doubts and fears can also grow, so we want to be cognizant of which plants we are feeding and which plants we're going to pull out of this garden. Yeah? Are we going to water the plants or are we going to water the weeds? So we can water the weeds, we can water our fears and our feelings of unworthiness, or we can water the other plants, the ones that we want to grow. And that is potential here. In addition to a growing power of intuition. And that moves us right into the Seven of Ankh, which is what? Intuition, ESP, experiences, discovery of missing information, yeah, intellectual growth and our ability to be victorious with that. We dedicate our mental energy to solving problems, and we profit from our communication. And then we move into Geb, with Geburah, where we plant more seeds for them to be able to grow and fruit and germinate and attain success, attain the fruits. We can apply our willpower, which we're about to get into in just a little bit. We can also know ourselves and know our success is here. Whether we're recognizing it or not, our success is here. And utilizing our creative imaginations will benefit us here. And we move from here, from that recognition, into the Three of Swords, the Three of Ankh, where we blend social and mental activity. Here we begin to start reaching out to other people. We start allowing ourselves to interact with people again. We keep our communication clear and honest here, and we keep our mind focused, but we communicate. And we benefit from both our thought activities and our communicative activities here. In fairness. Fairness is important. And so, but still we're moving from there into this, where we harness our chariot. I'm sorry I had to get up. I sit in my chariot appropriately, and we move forward into victory. We apply our mental and physical powers for victory. And we learn from our travels and experiences in the world, which moves us into the Queen of Discs, which it balances out that drive, Sagittarian drive forward in Jupiter. We balance it out with the Queen of Discs, which is the Queen of Air in this deck, where we love justice, we love beauty, we love companionship, and we are selective about who we will be companion to. We know that we have a weakness to saying no. We learn to say no, and Chariot will help us with that. We know that we're not good at selecting the activities we want to engage in, and the Chariot will help us with that. But we're able to add, to feed those things that we're interested in, and we put our mental and psychic energy into those things that we're able to feed with those intellectual, airy powers. Will grow, will become beautiful, will become just. Will show the dignity that we have for self and the dignity that we hold others in. And that moves us into the Ten of Discs here, which is progressive. Aquarius, we move forward to benefit the collective. We might be a little bit emotionally removed. Now, we don't want to be, remember, we're interacting with others, we're opening with others, we're finding good companions, but we're also not just like plunged into the emotional depths with others. We're still a little bit removed, a little bit cool, but communicative, friendly, fair, interested in the welfare of others as well as ours. As we move forward, we learn from the past, we learn from the present, and we move forward, and we're curious. All of those things are here in the Ten of Discs. And we get wisdom from occult studies as well, which is kind of fun, right? And we are able to change our viewpoints when it is appropriate. And that moves us into Jupiter, where we are successful, we're positive, we're expansive, our knowledge increases, and we're critical of that increase. I mean, we're not critical like, not critical, but we're critical of that increase and are discerning. This is good, we will give more energy and attention to that, we'll allow it to grow even farther, and this is not wanted, and we'll allow it to flow past us. Because not all of the wonderful abundance that appears before us is stuff that we want. Some of the stuff is going to be stuff we don't want, and that's good. That's okay. Other people can have that. Let it flow past. We can be inventive, right? The answers that we are looking for are here, right, with the first quarter moon. And part of those answers that we are looking for is the knowledge that we deserve the good things. Yeah? We can create, we can manifest, because we not only deserve them, but we know that we can receive them because we're living intentional lives. We are evolving into the better version of ourselves. which is part of living an intentional life. We evolve into the people who will have the experiences that we want to have. That's living the intentional life, right? And that's where we're headed, right here in Malkuth. That is the manifestation point for this week's spread. What could be better than that? Even though we started with all of that discomfort at the top, we land in this beautiful place of Jupiter. So friends, what do you think? Does that make sense to you? Isn't this a magnificent spread for this week? I think it's just glorious. And I'm going to do a concise reading with Tarot de Marseille in another video, probably about 24 hours after I upload this video. I'll upload that one. I haven't done it yet. But yeah, expect that. That's coming up soon. Let me know what you think about this though. Does it make sense? I'd love to hear from you. And friends, hit that thumbs up button so that YouTube knows that you got something out of it and other people might get something out of it. It draws more, it shows the channel to more people. It benefits the channel. Also, subscribe if you haven't subscribed and hit that alarm bell so you get notifications of when I upload videos. And if you want a reading from me, my email address is below. It can be a long video, could be a long reading, could be a short video, could be a short reading, could be a reading by email, could be a reading by Zoom, could be a reading by any method you're interested in. Let me know. We'll work it out together. Any system you want, I'm offering it to you. So email me. And also, if you're curious about the decks, in just a second, there will be information at the end of this video, giving you the names of the creators and the names of the decks. So friends, here we are, end of the reading. Thank you very much for joining me on this journey. And as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.